What's going on, my super fam? Alright, Genshin Impact 5.8 hype train is going to be fully charged. As we know, the other day Ineffa drip marketing basically dropped. And today we're diving into Ineffa herself, the electro poem robot made from Not Cry, who's potentially going to be having access to what's called quote-unquote lunar charge reaction, which is interesting. As usual, we're going to be looking into a bit of her potential skills and kit at the current point and see how potentially good she's going to be as a character, or basically she's just another shiny official clone. Mavuika is going to be coming back soon, and I know that many of you are excited for her. So if you're planning to swipe for pooling, then don't forget to check out Loot Bar. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 25% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point. And by the way, this also applies to PS5 and Xbox user who can place orders through Loot Bar. You can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. Here you can see my order receipts of all of my top-ups that I have done. And for those who are going for the highest package when topping up, there's also a limited discount options available once every version. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save your money, especially if you are topping up a large amount. So Ineffa is basically going to be Genshin's first playable character from Not Cry, a high-tech /Nyan sub-region obsessed with clockwork and robot, basically from what we heard. She's going to be a 5-star electro polearm user. Now when it comes to her combat design skills and kit, she's basically kind of like a combination between Fisher and Zhongli, who had a robot baby, where she is built for off-field electro application, shielding as well as boosting team reaction with lunar charge. This new reaction replaces electro charge whenever Ineffa is in your party, so it's kind of like a little bit how Nilu Bloom works for Bloom reactions. Well, how lunar charge works basically is going to be dealing AoE electro damage every 2 seconds. The skills with attack create elemental mastery, and as well as ignoring 100% of your enemy's defense. So for its normal attack, as usual, we're not going to be using her normal attack too much. The main part for kit starts when it comes to her E skill, where she basically is going to be having a summon. This time around it's called Brigitte. The Brigitte is going to be on the field doing up to 230% of electro zap damage once every 2 seconds. But other than Fischl, as I've mentioned, this also helps create a shield. Can last up to a 20-second, however it does only have a 60-second cooldown, which is rather great uptime overall for your team. Her elemental burst is basically kind of like just a nuke burst that deals massive electro AoE nuke damage. The scaling can go up to roughly 1200%. After she uses her elemental burst, she also resummons Brigitte similarly to how Fischl is as well. It only costs you a 60 energy, which is rather good, and considering that she is an electro character, her burst uptime is going to be quite high. Onto her first passive is basically the ability for her to convert electro charge into lunar charge, and boosting at base damage up to a 14% with her having 2000 attack. Other than that, her second passive, Overclocking Circuit, is where Brigitte drops basically a 240% Thunderclouds attack that basically ignores your enemy's defense. And then she also have another passive that gives your team a 6% of her own attack as EM, which is roughly up to 150 EMs after she uses her elemental burst. And so Ineffa Playstyle is basically surrounding electro sub DPS that provide newly introduced reaction of her own, which is lunar charge. You basically pop a skill to summon Brigitte and get a pretty tanky shield. After that, you burst for a pretty big elemental burst nuke, as well as providing a bit of EMT buff while also resummoning Brigitte onto the field. After that, you can just swap to your other hydro DPS or main carry to trigger lunar charge reactions, while having Brigitte zap away as she being off field. Now skills is basically around 20 seconds, which do have pretty nice uptime, so as her burst only requires 60 energy, means that she only needs roughly 120 to 140 energy recharge with decent battery, just like Fischl. For the time being, Ineffa looks pretty good for quick swap taser team, as well as even aggravate hybrid. And as I've mentioned before, you can think of it as Fischl's Osk with Zhongli's shield, but a little bit more stylish. Now looking into Ineffa's weapons as well as artifact, for weapons, basically her signature that gives her basically a 66% 20% crit damage, 24% attack boost on her skills as well as burst, with a 40% extra lunar charge damage while in a shield. Really good weapon for her obviously, but it is very much geared to just Ineffa at the current point. But obviously if you are investing into her, I think it's a very good weapon. Free to play for Favonius Lance basically is just overall really good, energy recharge, parkour regeneration for your team. Another weapon that can work rather well is going to be the Calamity Whirler if you do have that on Shenhe and you're not using your Shenhe just yet, for example, because you obviously benefit off of attack, and yes, you get more attack whenever she is off field, so that's decently good. Other options you can look into is going to be the Deathmatch, overall really good DPS options, and then obviously any other poem that you have access to that can boost attack power level is generally going to be fine on Ineffa. For artifacts, basically the Tenacity sets is yes one of the top tier set for her, has always been one of the set that for shielder while also boosting your team's attack level, which is absolutely amazing. You can look into like the Thundering Fury 4P set where it boosts electro and reaction damage. Pretty sure it's going to be working for electro charge reactions as well. So generally you guys can look into those two sets. I don't think we should be looking into any other potential set for her, because overall the Tenacity set is already a very good set on Ineffa for the current speculations. Other than that, for her main stat, attack stance, electro damage or EM Goblet are generally going to be fine for Goblet, and as well as crit ratio, Circlets are going to be the main stat for her. For Ineffa's Constellation, her C1 basically boosts her lunar charge damage by up to 50% based on her attack, which is, kind of like a huge reactions increase for the team if you are investing into her. Her C2 basically adds a 400% attack OE hits, and additionally when you are in co-op, she also provides a team for the whole co-op party. C4 basically refunds a 5 energy per lunar charge triggers every 4 seconds, so not too handy considering that she doesn't need too much energy. And C6 basically makes Brigitte deals 200% attack OE damage once every 3.5 seconds when thundercloud strike. So overall when you look at it, Constellation level for Ineffa is just basically more damage for her. Obviously if you do have it, it's great for your damage output, but generally she's pretty much complete at a C0 level, which leads us to one of the more important parts whenever we touch on the character, and that's going to be team comps. Now generally Ineffa best teams would definitely surround electro charged taser teams. Well, this is kind of like a buff toward electro charged team, which is rather great depending on how you look at it, because in the past electro charge I'd say it's a nice reaction, but it wasn't considered to be too good and widely used of the reactions. So now seeing that it's potentially getting a buff is great. So teams such as Ineffa, Nublet being the Hydro DPS, you have Furina as well as Kazuya for example, should be a rather decent electro charge team. Other potentially good taser team maybe with still testing into it, it's going to be Cloran, Yelan, Ineffa, and then Kazuya for example. Free to play team, we're definitely going to be having character like Xingqiu, Fischl, Ineffa, and Sucrose can be here, which is kind of nice, bringing back some of the more earlier days taser free to play teams. Other than that, we may potentially have an aggravate hybrid kind of teams where you have like Ineffa, Sino, Nahida, and then the final slot can be kind of like a flex slot since Ineffa have EM buff as well as shield, keeping Sino comfy while boosting reactions. Not to mention her 240% attack thunderclouds attacks are pretty nice sub DPS for your overall team, but obviously she's still going to be needing Hydro to shine. So yes, in the flex slot we potentially want to have a Hydro character there, but honestly we'll still need to wait for more Ineffa info or officially testing her to see where she goes. That's basically everything regarding Ineffa's skills and kit as well as her potential build at this point at the current time. Looking into the potential pros and cons that Ineffa have at the current state is that Lunar Charge is pretty nice of an addition to the reactions list that the game is having. It's basically just an updated version of Electro Charge where it's similar to the updated version of a Nilou Bloom, where Lunar Charge has the ability to ignore defense. Other than that, Ineffa is just going to be a pretty flexible sub DPS support character with a pretty beefy shield and a strong off-field damage at that. Not to mention her having access to a bit of EM buff for your whole team, and obviously her character design of being a Notcry and being a mecha kind of character can be an icing on the cake depending on your preference type. A bit of an addition is that you can now do Electro Charge reaction while not worrying about having a shielder on your team, which is definitely a plus, opening up a little bit of more slot whenever you are team building. Now obviously the downside is that yes, in order for you to pop off Lunar Charge, you obviously have to have a Hydro character because that too creates Electro Charge. Fischl being a pretty similar character in terms of what she actually does might make you a bit hesitant into pulling for Ineffa, and obviously if you already have a C6 Oz Fischl, then yeah, that's definitely going to be the consideration. So should you actually pull for Ineffa whenever 5.8 drops? Obviously we're still going to need to wait for more information on her close to official release, but in terms of the potential at the current point, honestly, if you love Electro Charge team building, you have good Hydro DPS character, and you wanna have a more variety of team comps for your character, especially you know like Neuvillette, Arena, those kind of characters, you can consider Ineffa. Obviously we're still going to be needing to test out the difference between, for example, if you have a Neuvillette team with Ineffa or other of his team comps, how good of a difference was that going to be making. Now we don't know how much of an importance toward Lunar Charge coming into 6.0 Notcry region. It may potentially be meta defining at that point, but we still need to wait, as well as if you're looking into investing into Ineffa, then C0 is generally already great. C2 is definitely going to be a sweet spot if you are looking to invest a bit more into her, but while if your Fischl is already at a C6, you're saving for your other DPS character, maybe it's going to be a pass most of the time. So leave it down in the comment sections what you guys think of Ineffa and what your decisions of pooling are gonna be. That's all I have for today on Ineffa. I hope the video have been helpful to you. Again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on my future Genshin videos. With that, I wish you a super day and I'll catch you on my next video.